Hello and welcome back to the Coder's Legacy channel. In today's video, we're going to explore how to create a simple backend for your front-end React application. This is going to be a very practical video where we discuss the essentials all the way from the development of the front end to the production build of the React application. Okay, very practical video, no fancy stuff, just the main core essentials. Alright, so let's begin. I have my front end right here. And currently I can deploy my front end using npm run dev. And I don't think oh, right. Let me just go into cd, okay, npm run dev. And this creates a development server where I can view my app. So I'll click on this and this takes me to my application. It's a very simple app. It's just a login page that takes me to a home page. That's it. Okay, so now I'm going to close this. But what we want to do is create a backend, okay, because we need a server to actually receive our login call, right? So if I go over here into my src folder, into login, I've already actually set up a call to the backend at the port 3001. It's basically a fetch command and it goes to the backend at the login endpoint, which we're going to define in this video. Then we pass in, it's a post call. Then we pass in these headers. They're just compulsory for this kind of data because we're sending JSON data. Okay, so this is the body where we send the username and password that the user entered. All right, this is a very typical way we access the backend. All right. So it's in a try statement so that if it fails, then this catch command will run and let us know that an error occurred, and it's going to print out the error message. Okay, very straightforward. Now I'm going to go to the root and create a folder called backend. All right, now, or let's just call it server. All right, that makes more sense, client server, and we'll close this. Now we're going to set up a backend. This is pretty simple. What we're going to do is first cd into it, server. Now we're going to do npm init vi. This creates a package.json file. Now we're going to do npm install express. Express is the library that we're going to be using to create our backend. It has all those cool functions that we need. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We just need to create a new file now called server.js, or anything really, call it whatever you want to. Now we're going to do express. We require express. We also require another library that's included by default. It's used for file paths, okay, called path. Then we're going to create our app, express. Okay, this creates our app, now our backend app. Then we're gonna define a port over here, like 3001. You can use whatever. Just make sure that it matches on the front end and the back end. Remember that we were here accessing the 3001 port. Okay, so let me just go back. Now we're going to do app.post. Okay, we do post or get depending on what kind of route we're defining. The login route is going to be a post because we're not fetching anything, we're sending data. That's what a post call is. Then there are two parameters that are automatically included in here, request and response. Request and response. Okay. Then over here we do rest.json. And I'll explain this in a minute. Let me just finish typing. Alright, status 200, meaning it's successful, and we'll send in a text message as well. Okay, so ideally what you would do here is that the request object from the user, it's gonna have the username and password. So I'm gonna print it out, sorry, console.log. So when the user sends it, let me just open that file again and log in. So when the user sends this body with the username and password, what we would normally do is body dot username, for example, and then we're going to send this to a database or something to verify it, but I'm not doing that right now. I just want to make this a very simple video, So we're just gonna return a login successful, regardless of whether the credentials are correct or not. We're not checking the credentials. We're just, you know, we're just verifying the user. So then I'm gonna do app.listen. Okay, then port and create a callback, and then this callback is just a simple message or a code that's going to execute when the server is initialized or when it begins listening. There. Okay. Alright, so time to test our server and client. I have one terminal open for the server and one for the client. So let's go ahead and run them. I'm going to do npm run dev to run my client. It may be different for you guys depending on how you've set up your React application. Some of you will have to do npm run start or npm start. Okay, doesn't matter. So I run that. Now I'm going to do node server.js, and now the server is running. Okay, so now I'm going to go to here and I'm going to enter a email and password. Now I'm going to open up the console over here as well so we can see things print out. I'm going to click on sign in, and this should query our server. Okay, so what we've got here is a course issue, and basically a very basic explanation of this issue is that we have a separate front end and a separate back end. That's why we need to enable something called course that allows different domains to access each other. So let me just show you how to fix this, but ultimately towards the end of the video I'm going to show you that you don't need to implement this fix. I'm just doing this step by step to help you guys understand better. So I'm just going to terminate both the server and the client for now. I'm going to create a new terminal in the root folder, and then I'm going to wait. No, I don't need to do this. I need to go to the server actually, and then I need to install course. Then I need to do const course is equal to require course. Okay, then do not there, app.use course. Alright, this is what you want to do. And now if I rerun the server and I rerun the client and I do this again, it's going to work. Login successful. Okay, now this is up till now we've just been doing development stuff. Now let's move on towards production. I want to show you what you would do, some changes you need to make for a production build. So I'm going to come over here to my server, and we need to make a few changes. For one thing, I'm going to remove course. The reason being that I want the backend to serve the front end. Right now what I'm doing here in the client is npm run dev. This is a development server. What I want to do is build our React app and then serve the built version. You might wonder, why is this needed? Well, that's because the development server is slow. It comes with many extra dependencies and stuff that are not needed. It's going to slow down your application. For example, if I open up my client, package.json, these are the dependencies, and then these are the development dependencies. That's quite a bit. So we don't need those for the production build. Now, in the client, let me just clear everything. Whoops. And shut down the server. Clear that too. Now, what I'm going to do in the client is npm run build. And again, this command may be slightly different depending on the configuration of your package.json. For example, if I go into my package.json, build over here is going to trigger the vite build command, which is what I'm using. I'm using vite to set up my React application. Some of you may be using create React app. So I'm pretty sure the command is going to be the same thing. So then do npm run build in the client, and this is going to generate a dist folder. And again, the name of this folder might be a bit different as well. It may be called build for you guys, but it's the same thing. Okay, doesn't make a difference. So here's the dist folder. Now what we're going to do is go into the server, and first of all I'm going to remove course. because we won't need this anymore. The reason being that I'm going to make the back end serve the front end. And what this means basically is that we are going to make the back end distribute our files. We aren't going to have a server running and a client running separately. The backend is going to be responsible for both jobs. I'm going to show you because when I was first understanding this concept, I understood it only after I did it myself. So let's go ahead and do that, and hopefully you guys will understand how this works. Now we're going to create a variable which contains the path to our dist folder. We'll use the path module that we imported up here. Then we'll do dir name. Dir name is a special variable which represents the root directory. Then we're going to join this with the path, the relative path to the dist folder from the server.js file. Okay. Now we're going to do app.use. This is how we add middleware. The course was also middleware. So we do static. This allows us to serve static files like images, JavaScript files, HTML files, etc. Now the final piece, we do get and then add in this wildcard route. This basically means that wherever the user visits, this is what we're going to be executing, and it's get because the user is going to be getting those pages. Okay, so request, response, callback, and here this is important. We're going to do send file. We're going to send them the index.html file. And let me show you what that file is. It's basically the root of our application. This is us specifying where this file is located. So let me show you this index.html file. If you go into the client folder and in the dist folder, you'll see that there's this index.html file in there. That's basically the core of our React application, the built React application. Okay, so that's what we're serving to the users. And that's pretty much it. Now what we're going to do is just clear, and we're going to run the, actually we're not going to run the client. That is the point of all this, that the client does not run itself. The server is going to run it. So I'm going to leave this. I'm just going to delete the terminal because we don't need it. Now I'll go to the server, and over here I'm going to do node server.js. And now what we're going to do here is visit this. Alright, it says cannot get, weird. Okay, so I paused the video just to figure out the problem, and the problem is that, well, it's quite silly, but you had to, since we're using regex, I guess, you don't use these double quotes, use single quotes. Alright, that's it. I reset the server, so it's now running. Okay, so you can see our login page right here, and it's being handled. So if I visit even the base URL, it's still going to take me here, just what I want. Then I'm going to enter my email and password, and there, logged in. So as you can see, we only have the server running. There's no other terminal running. The server is distributing the production ready front end. And I'm just going to come back to the course thing. The reason we don't need to add course, which is, cross origin, because we don't have two different services running. Previously we had a separate client and a separate server. Now it's the same server. It's the same origin, same source. Okay, that's why we don't need to allow this cross origin thing. Okay, I'm not too well versed in it, but I know the gist of it, and I know why we need it and why we don't, and when we need it and when we don't. And that's all you really need to know as well. Okay, so we'll end the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it.